A book examining a civil rights era murder in Conway was published earlier this year. It shows that abuse of power, a lack of respect for human life, and injustice are not new issues in America. Jason Pederson sat down with the author of Markham Street to learn more about the book's title and its subject.
On May 6, 1960, an EF3 tornado roared through the Arkansas town of Menifee shortly after midnight. The gymnasium where the prom had been held hours earlier survived, but the rest of the town was flattened, including the home of Marvin Williams. The 20-year-old, who had finished high school at age 15, served in the 82nd Airborne, and was a married father of one with another on the way, died that night. But not in Menifee, and not because of a tornado. Williams was beaten inside a fourth-floor cell atop the Faulkner County Courthouse. 25 years later, 2 white officers were tried and acquitted by an all-white jury. I'm in Menifee, inside the Menifee Community Cemetery, where Marvin Williams was laid to rest over 60 years ago. His civil rights era of murder is not the only one that's gotten renewed attention in 2022. The 1955 murder of Emmett Till was depicted in both a TV miniseries and in a major motion picture. And also in 2022, Congress passed the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act.
And to say that there was no blood in the cell, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Ronnie Williams was 7 when Marvin died. He says there are some similarities in the deaths of Emmett Till and his brother: the era, the brutality, the lack of justice, and the motive: attention paid to a woman. According to his friends, Marvin had been told by police to stay out of Conway, where his ex-girlfriend lived. That's because another Marvin, Officer Marvin Iberg, had an interest in her. Despite that threat, Williams was sitting in his car in Conway when Officers Iberg and Bill Mullinax spotted his 1953 Chevy two-door Bel Air coupe, pulled him out, and took him to jail.
I don't know what Marvin how he responded to the threats of stay out of Conway. But, you know, Marvin served in the military. I think it served in Germany. He was in the Navy. He trained in San Diego. He had been places, and I'm confident that when they approached his car, I'm confident that Marvin probably said something like, you know, what have I done? That in 1960, just that alone, would get you beaten.
Williams spent more than 5 years researching and writing a book about his brother's death and the decades that followed. It's called Markham Street, named for the area of Conway that was once home to many black-owned businesses and a thriving black nightlife, including the Sunset Cafe, where Marvin was visiting the night he died. While the officers claimed he was drunk, an autopsy showed there was no alcohol in Williams' system. And while they claimed he fell and hit his forehead on the courthouse steps, coroner photos and an autopsy revealed his skull was fractured from a blow to the back of his head. Ronnie put the autopsy photos in the book to put the impact of racism and hatred on display, just like Emmett Till's mother, Mamie, did.
I thought about that. And I thought that showed a tremendous amount of courage on her part to say, the world needs to see this. And I felt the same way about Marvin. If you're going to question the jurors and whether or not they...
You're going to call them out.
You're going to call them out and question whether or not they were there to do the right thing. Well, then you need to show the photos. The book has 4 dimensions. That is my takeaway. It's history. It is healing. It's reconciliation. And ultimately, it's forgiveness.
For the Natural State Update, I'm Jason Pederson.
Thank you, Jason. Ronnie Williams recently retired from the University of Central Arkansas, where for more than 40 years he's served in many leadership positions, including Vice President of Student Affairs. In full disclosure, I worked with Ronnie at UCA, and he is a dear friend of mine, and I personally strongly encourage all of you watching to read this heartfelt and beautifully written book, which I know was a labor of love. The book Markham Street can be purchased on Amazon for $20. And by the way, Jason says be sure to read the 1-page epilogue. I'm not going to give it away here, but it's definitely a must-read.